Hey David, can you hear me? I'm having microphone issues. I'm going to reconnect. Just one second. Okay, can anybody hear me? Hello, hello. Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Then I'll stop typing. Can you hear me? All right. I don't know what was going on. Kept getting muted. Let me switch back to my other camera. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you, David, for popping in. Found it buried. Hello. I was trying to come up with something I haven't really shown too much of. And I don't think I've shown my tubes of Lincolns very much. So some of them are in pretty good condition. There's a few issues in some. I tubed some of these pretty early on. Thank you. Found it buried. Appreciate that. Normally this microphone's really good, but I restarted my computer to make sure everything was nice and up to date and refreshed. And I made the mistake of accidentally bumping my camera and unplugging it while it restarted. So everything loaded without it loading the drivers and stuff. But looks like we got it fixed. So that's all that matters. Okay. It'll take me a minute to decipher through some of this stuff. Find out earlier year. Okay. Now I know some of these are going to have a little bit of issues. And we'll just go through them and check. $1940. Few issues, but not too bad. Fairly clear fields. Really good strike. And the color's a little bit dark. But red is definitely a big part of it. You can see a little bit of darkness there on that one, and a little hazing in front of Lincoln's face. Alrighty. And this was an original bankroll that I had. Got this when I was in my 20s, I believe. Yeah, 46. Pretty nice. Looks like the ear's got a couple issues going on, and the fields have a little bit in front of his face, but I'm remembering correctly, about a tenth of the roll ended up being really choice, and the rest had minor issues. But I was putting everything in Airtites back then that were coming out of the BU rolls that were 66, 65s, or what I thought at the time. I've changed my grading methods a lot since then. This is probably 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Definitely has some issues on that one, but still not a bad coin. So we'll just see how it goes. I was going to show like a half a dozen or so coins out of each roll. I think there's 20 in each airtight tube. It's got quite a bit of issues. A lot of times what I see is when there's a spot like that one right there, it's like a oil drop or something from, well, I hate to say it, but chances are it's saliva. Unfortunately, you breathe over these coins a little bit, and I wasn't as careful as I am these days. A little bit of residue gets on here, and it just totally ruins the coin. Yep. Hey, it is what it is. And if you don't share this stuff, people will make that same mistake. The biggest issue most people make is when they use a smaller loop, they put the coin so close to their mouth that they're just exhaling really hard on it. And even if you try to hold your breath, then all of a sudden you let out a big breath on it, and that's even worse. So better to get a nice big loop so you don't have to hold it so close and get it away from your mouth. I personally wear a mask, a little hospital mask, and it's the absolute best way of doing it. Otherwise, you're almost guaranteed to cause some issues. Even if it's just breathing on it, just the heat build up on the coin will cause it to slightly fog, and of course that's all moisture. So I'll show a couple more of these. Wait until I find a better one, and then we'll switch to another year. Now, the 40s might be mixed up a little bit. I know I didn't have them together as good as I should have. Yeah, see, the one problem we have when we are looking through that loop is we put everything so close to our nose and mouth, and unfortunately, unconsciously, we start breathing through our nose, trying, not to breathe on the coin by keeping our mouth shut. But of course, you're still breathing on the coin. But our minds like to play games with us, or our brains don't allow us to pay enough attention when we're looking at something pretty. And for me, the brilliant Lincolns, especially the earlier years, are just so neat to look at. I still shake, physically shake, when I open a roll that I can tell is going to have 67s, and I get all excited and short of breath, and just like I'm finding my first coin. And I have found a lot of 67s. Got them graded and stuff, and but it was for sure 67s. But still, it's so exciting, especially when you're cracking open a roll that you hadn't ever messed with before, or a fresh year that you haven't messed with before. Because I do most of my stuff by year, and some of them I have 50 rolls of, so it takes a while to go through them and see what I got. I've changed the way, because I used to just start airtiting stuff, and as you can see, these ones, although they're very nice coins, more than half of them should have been put in airtites. But it is what it is. There's a lot of darkness on that one. So the strike's a little weak, or there's issues with the L in pluribus. Could be many different things. A little nicer red showing up, but as you can see, that one's probably a red-brown. Enough of it has changed. And wasn't when I put in this airtight. But that's the issue with breathing on your coins. They continue to tone when you put them in the airtights. In fact, sometimes it can actually concentrate it. Boy, his forehead, it sure has a lot of issues. Looks like somebody dragged a file over that part. Moosocks, how you doing? Butchie Harding, how you doing? Nice seeing you in here. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And please forgive me if you're female and I'm calling you guys. Please don't take it that way. Coin people is what I meant. I had somebody emailed me for some coins. I'm doing a trade with them, and well, it's a kind of an unusual name. I wasn't that aware of the name, and called the person buddy a couple of times, or pal something. I forget, maybe both. And they wrote back to me, I'm a female. It's like, okay, still be my buddy. It's nothing too serious. But I try not to do that. I know I have a habit because I've got grandsons. I'm constantly saying, bud. Hey, bud. Oops. Just a second, guys. I don't know if you could hear it. My heater just came on and I need to shut it off before I overheat. Just a minute. So I'm actually rendering right now some video, and my computer runs extra warm when I'm got it loaded a little bit. All right, last coin, and I'll move to a different year. So now I have a couple better 46s, but yeah, because I mistreated the roll so bad, I lost quite a few of them. And the greatest intentions, I was extremely careful. I wore gloves, but I breathed on them. And at the time, it didn't even dawn on me. In fact, it took me losing entire rolls of coins before I realized that that's what I was doing. I had marked some of my rolls. I was at the time I was marking with stars, and I marked a bunch of them with 5 stars, near flawless. And then when I went back through them about a year later, I noticed all these carbon spots, and that the coin was actually, the coins were starting to tone. And it's like, wait a minute, this was such a perfect roll. And then I'm like, well, must not have taken care of it well. I must not have stored it properly. Start going through all that. And then I started going through some of the other rolls that I had gone through early and realized, well, I got some of those rolls way later than the 46, and definitely not the same purchase and stuff. And that's a little nicer looking. And yeah, it's like, what's going on? These ones are all carbon spotted too. And yeah, the other thing is, I wasn't removing the enders off of the rolls back then. And so I would handle them and grab the ender with my finger and touch the face of the coins. And then as I started getting into the rolls, I noticed too that all this black crap was going from coin to coin. And it's like, what the heck is this? 2, 3, 4 coins deep. So I'd look at that first coin and it's like, oh shoot, I recognize that. That's my fingerprint. Nice and dark black. So even as careful as we can be, man, you got to really overthink it with the coins. And as soon as you see issues, take note, pay attention, and remedy it as soon as possible. Because who knows how many rolls, are infected at that point from you mishandling it unintentionally. But it doesn't matter. Best intentions don't help at all in this hobby. That one's really dark. Yeah, not true patina takes a pretty good amount of time. So that's the neat part about, some of my silver rolls and stuff that I had, because I would keep checking the end coins to make sure that, there wasn't, black going on. And yeah, they were getting a little bit of toning, but, that's for silver expected. But to see the differences over, 10, 20, and then 30 years, I didn't open my rolls for probably 30 something years. So just started opening them about 9 or 10 years ago. And about 4 or 5 years ago was when I really started getting into them. And I've got quite a few to go. Yeah, when you see that darkness on the enders, you know that you normally have a roll that is, not messed with, untouched. And it's so funny because some of the people go through these coins and then they don't put the enders back on the end. And it's like, no, I want the shiny ones to be in. And then those enders end up in the middle of the roll and they don't sell it for a couple of years. And the poor guy who gets coins that are darkening from the inside because of the enders and also from the ends. So, yeah, we gotta be really careful. I did really good on eBay, but man, you've got to be so careful. Don't buy from anybody that doesn't have a return policy. Pay attention to negatives. I don't know. I think Michael was saying it's all automatic now. I don't know if you can still give people negative feedback, but when I was doing it, the buyers and sellers could both give positive and negative feedback. So too bad. Again, this is another roll that I opened early, and one of the first ones I opened, and I wish I'd had a little more sense. Oh, there's some issues. Okay, just a minute. Butchie, let me put it up. Okay, Butchie bought an old 25-cent gold coin for $50 a few weeks ago. It's got a hole, but it's still wicked cool. Well, it's really fun to find those good finds and stuff, but man, I really push you not to buy coins with holes. Although it's neat to get something that you can afford, and because it has a hole, you can afford it and it's got good details or whatever, but it'll never have value. Its value is never going to go up. Now, gold's a little different because, the amount of weight that's there keeps that coin, a higher valued coin. But for the rest of them, man, every time I see kids showing coins with holes or new collectors, it's like, no, stop. Oh, that's a more rare one to the hexagon. Very cool. It's a California denomination or small. Shoot, what's that called? California. Shoot, I forget what it's called now. Now, I've seen some of the best ones known out there in my friend's collection. Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen even there was a private bank that did dimes out of gold, and oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. It's so small. They flattened it out pretty good to make it bigger so you could handle it, but that was the issue with them is they really bent easily. My buddy's got a gold coin collection that puts most museums to shame. It's just amazing. He's got all these coins that are listed 7 known, 13 known. Just ridiculous. It's really something. It was a lot of fun to look through. And I only saw a small percentage and was there for like 4 hours. Well, it's from the gold rush era. Keep in mind that was before the 49 gold rush. They, for a couple years that had been going on. But 49 is when it became popular enough for them to create a war with Mexico and fight for the land because it was already owned by a bunch of Mexican families that had giant ranchos, and the original Indians were still there at that time. And I'm talking, about 1780s or 90s to about the 1820s and 30s. And then the white man started coming in, and by the late 1840s, yeah, they had pretty much taken over and destroyed a lot of the original ranchos and all the original fence lines and stuff. And in 1850, California became a state. It's called the Bear Flag Revolt, the fight for the state of California. Of course, it wasn't really a fight because Mexicans weren't going to fight for it. They weren't armed that well. And I had family that said that in the about 100 miles from San Francisco, that getting the grizzly bear once a week or so wasn't unusual to shoot one. And then there was tons of black bears that were pretty thick in the area too. But I think the grizzlies are territorial, so they probably kept them in a pretty contained area. But then when my family was in Missouri, before everybody else got there, they were one of two families they were the first two families there. And it's a big argument as to who was there first, but my Clay family was there, and so was the Daniel Boone family. So they weren't neighbors, they were actually on nearly opposite ends of the state, but now one of my great uncles was known as the Great Bear Hunter of Missouri, and he was getting bears almost every other day. Pretty crazy. So I'll have to show you guys some of my photos. I got photos from the 1870s that show some of the bears being taken here in California. And of course, they've got these guns that are like 6 feet long, and it's pretty cool. Sure, they were the Kentucky rifles. I believe the popular ones at the time. Well, see, the Mexican families were probably mid 1700s, 1750s, 1770s, somewhere like that. That's when my family got here. And then, they were ran off by all the people trying to build the cities. And in 1850s when it became a state. So, and there was already towns, so probably 1830s. That's the one thing about California. For those that have visited and been to some of our state parks or national parks, man, I can't imagine what they must have seen, because even today, well, I'll go when I was a young man taking my little kids out camping, we'd hit groves that we would drive an hour and a half or so, not see a soul, and thick woods, and I love the redwoods and the sequoia forest. Oh my gosh, if you're not aware, the redwood is the tallest, but the sequoia tree is like 5 times the width. And I've got pictures of my girls when they were young, and we've got our fingertip to fingertip with our arms spread out, and it's me, my wife, and I think at the time they were almost, one was a teenager and one was close, and we're about a little bit more than half the tree. So yeah, gigantic width on these sequoia trees. Alrighty, that was that tube. Let me grab another. Where was it made? Yeah, someday when I've got some of the history buffs, I'll have to show you guys a very special book I have that was written by a large group of people about the true Indian Wars and what the true death rate was and who actually won the wars. Because white men won very few. Um, of course, after Custer, they went in and wiped those poor Indians out. But no, those guys, they were fighting each other's tribal wars, and they were true major hunters. Um, and you couldn't even go hunting without being careful because, I mean, that's the way it was back then. And then when the soldiers came in and they're all standing there in bright, decorative uniforms, and the Indians would just disappear into the brush and, they couldn't see a thing, but they were right there. And yeah, they were pretty amazing. The book even gives death rates, the totals and stuff of the different wars for the different tribes and the different areas. It's a pretty interesting book. Yeah, I've already shown quite a bit of the 46, so I'm going to switch to, I don't have 50. I'll start the 51. See how that one goes. I know a couple of them aren't in very good shape, or as great a shape as they should have been. We'll see how it goes here. New York. Doesn't surprise me because New York is where all the factories were. A lot of people don't realize is that machinery was mostly belt driven back then. And it was the buffalo hides that was giving them the belts to make that machinery work. And unfortunately, it was young kids that had to maintain it all and go into the worst of areas and grease it and stuff while it was running. Pretty scary stuff. I've got a really scary book on children in the industrial age, or in the start of it. Yeah, pretty sad. Of course, they were thrilled to have the job. Jobs were pretty scarce for their age groups until that all started happening. There was a lot of heritage books that were created for genealogy and stuff, just to give people more information on child work camps and stuff like that, because a lot of them had their full names and their ages and even some birth dates. So there was a lot of information to be had from it if your family member was part of it. So I probably have 150 to 200 books that are new on genealogy, and probably half that are antiques. Ooh, that one's got a really bad shine to her. Not the right shine. Oh, there's a nice one. Oh, it's 44. Hey, what's that doing in there? Get out of here. I wasn't paying attention. Was the last one too? Yep. All right, let's see. Where's those 51s? I wondered why the roll was a partial roll. Now I know. It looks like some of the nicer 44s are here. That one's not too bad. The roll didn't have perfect coins in it, but it had some pretty nice ones. Yeah, in California, the Russians, well, the Germans came first, but they didn't make it too far up the coast. But when the Russians came, the Russians were here in, 1780s? 1790s, I think, something like that. And they went all the way up the coast and went to all the tribes and stuff, trying to trade and find gold. I'm sure gold was a part of it, but furs and those kind of things were what they were after as well. And probably the main thing that they were trading. And I think it was 150,000 Indians died, 200,000 from, not having the ability to fight off the diseases. 44. Pretty sad. They said it kept people out of California for a couple of years because it was so horrible. I guess I need to be careful what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, their immune systems were great for what was here, but they weren't prepared for what was coming from places like Russia, Germany. Even the Mayflower, when Christopher Columbus showed up, they were pretty sick and dealing with all kinds of issues. And I guess since we're talking about gross, there's something that a lot of people don't know. When you do genealogy and you really get into it and you're able to go back really far to U.S. history, the one thing you don't want is for you to be able to trace your family back to Christopher Columbus's group. Does anybody know why? I bet David Carlisle knows why. But it's a sad, gross thing that most people don't think of. And I always give an unfortunate smile when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I had my family go all the way back to the Mayflower group." It's like, oh, that's too bad. They were starving to death. So we'll just leave it at that. I think you can all figure out where it went from there. Yeah, the Pilgrims were that first group survived quite a while because they were eating their dead. Okay, now off to coins. No more gross talk. So I'm shocked there's so many 44s in here. Coin talk, coin talk. A lot of darkness though, darn it. Such a shame because it was such a brilliant red. It wasn't really high grade, but they were just gorgeous red coins. As you can see, the fields were pretty nice, but the devices had a lot of issues. Well, I guess at least we're getting to see a different year. Okay, here's a good one to stop on. Okay, let's see if you guys can figure this one out. Got 2 marks here and here on the back of the jaw. Anybody know what those are? Or what caused them? No, Roy Driscoll, not fly poop. At least not this time. No guesses? Not bag marks, not in this case. They're actually, let's see, make sure nobody else is guessing here. No guess, David? I figured he knew. This is the unfortunate thing I ran into with some coins I was so sure were 67, and I thought they had gotten 2 grades, and nope, not a sneeze. I think they got 2 grades lower, but it's rub marks from being in the roll. This is contact marks from a roll that had too much movement through the years, and it created those little polish marks. They're little rubs. Now, on some of the 60, let me grab one. Some of the memorials that I had, let me get this one up here. And the coins I had were just flawless. But, right on the corners of all these steps and the edges here, and on both sides, and also on this, had these little polished rub marks. And, that was the only thing that I could find on the coin that would cause it to get such a low grade, because the coins were flawless. I mean, truly flawless coins. And, yep, it was because of being in the rolls too long. And I think what causes it a lot of time is people don't think about storing this stuff. So if you put it up in your closet, and you have shelves in your closet, or even like drawers in a cabinet. Now, if that cabinet's leaning against the wall, and on the other side of that wall, people have a washer machine, dryer, a dishwasher, heater, hot water heater, all this stuff. Well, the hot water heater, probably not going to see it like the rest of it. But yeah, the heater causes enough vibration to shake these, not enough to damage it right away, but over years of being in that same spot and rubbing, having that vibration over years and years and years. Yep, that's what that is. Took me a long time to figure that one out. And I'm sure I'm probably right on the vibrating wall thing. Oh, that's a nice one. Let's see. Yeah, so see, that's not RB, because that one's cartwheeling all the way through those dark spots. And there is some issues here, which again is probably my handling it. Again, probably moisture from my breath, which is a shame because that's a pretty clear coin. Well, you can sure see Lincoln popping through this one, can't you? Turn it upside down. So you see here's the Lincoln's chest and up to his neck. Here's down the back of the coin. So this one, I forget what they call this, but yeah, that certainly shows that the strike was really messing with it. set too high. Something. Another real nice one. But there's those rubs again in those same spots. And could it be that they were face to face, obverse to obverse? I don't know. It could be because look how centered that is on the coin. Perhaps that does match up perfectly on the exact center of the coin. I don't know. It'd be interesting to do an overlay and see where some of these rubs end up. All right, let me get a different year here. I'll show the better of the coins here. Oh, this one looks like it has issues, but it looks pretty bright. Oh no, that's pretty clean. See, I gotta stop saying that. This coin is very clear. Nice fields. Not clean. Okay. I'm gonna grab another roll. I don't know what happened to my 50. Oh, I think I do know. I found a roll that said steals, and I opened it up, and they weren't steals. Let's see what they are. Hey, there's my 51s. And this is why when you're doing streams, oh boy, look how linty that one is. Let's see if I can get that off. Yeah, that helped. So when you're doing a stream and you show off coins that are in tubes, make sure you put them back in the right tubes. Make sure you get the right lid on that has the dates. Am I missing comments? I see comments haven't moved for a while. Just a second, guys. Let me double check. No, David Carlisle sneezes the last comment. All right. Oh, 9 people. Thanks, guys. $51. Okay. I don't think I was too pleased with these. So they're not nicer coins. Oh no, that's not even a 51. I'll be darned. So I must have just completely not put anything away when I did it last. Which is probably right why my 44 one was all messed up. Okay. Then I think I only showed to 51. Let me grab a 52 roll and see. Steals. Nice. Pull that lid off and trade it with the other one. Let's go 52D. All right, let me leave it there for just 1 second and put away these 44s. Hey, take it easy, Roy Driscoll. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry, it was sharing all those gross, hideous stories. I'll try to stick to coins next time. See, there's a hair inside this one. Now, this is unfortunate, but I had a cat that um, she lost her hair really bad, or shedded really everywhere, and I tried to stay on top of it, but when I put these in the airtights, I wasn't being smart. This is before I realized all the issues I was making. So now I use an airtight box for the 250 airtights. I use the lid. I pull one of the foam sheets that they use to separate the layers of airtights, and I do the coins on that. I keep them in a drawer that is sealed really well, and only open it when I'm doing the coins, putting them in airtights. And I actually have a couple lids, so I use another lid. I pull 5 at a time and do 5 coins at a time. Then I open the box up and grab 5 more. And I hate opening and closing the box so much, but I'm so worried about getting crap in it. So they're unfortunate. They draw. They almost have a magnetic static kind of cling. Oops. Sorry, I told you I had some rendering going on. All right, what do we have here? Is that wood grain? Some wood graining going on. Now, most people don't see wood graining in red coins because almost always it's 20s, 30s, and some 40s, but mostly teens, 20s, and 30s coins that you see most of the really nice woodies. Is this one a woody? No, I don't think so. Normally, it looks like roughed metal, and this I think is, well, what I call wood grain toned. Sometimes something gets wiped on a coin or something brushes across it and then it tones because of it, and so it gets the characters of the rub. I think that's how a lot of the wood grain looking tones happen on quarters and half dollars and stuff. Now nickels will get that issue because there's 75% copper, so there is a metal mix issue possibility. Ooh, that's not good. I miss that cat. Yeah, it's sad. I've got tons of books that are before 1850. And for some reason, about 1850, maybe it's the Civil War, and I'm just generalizing the date a little bit too much, but yeah, history isn't told properly in the history books until you start reading, manuals and journals and those kind of things from those incidences, and you find out, things were completely different. Um, there's so many things about our presidents that would just make you sad, truly make you sad. So, and I've read all these, like the letters of the presidents and stuff that was written by other people who physically went through the letters and wrote the books back in the time. And oh yeah, people with power for some reason seem to go loopy. And they say Franklin was one that had a whole bunch of stuff going on. He was quite a character. Oh, that one's pretty nice. Too bad about the hazing. More 44s. Can have a full tube here soon. Oops, the rest of the roll is 44. All right. And that was my 52. Boy, I did mess these up. All right. Let's try. I do my 58Ds. I had some really special 58Ds. At least I hope I did. Oh, I have them somewhere. And what's the point of marking the lids to all this stuff if you're not going to put them away? Whoa, 58D, nice. Not a very nice one, but okay, we'll just go a couple coins into the roll, and if it's not that nice, I'll pull another 58D. Yeah, let me go one or two more coins, and then I'm going to try a different roll. Oh, cracked. Or spiked head. You see it? Oh, that's a nice one. So it's really cool. Let me zoom in a little bit here. A lot. So the die crack doesn't quite make it all the way across. It looks like it stops just before the T. But look at that on the head. It's a full circle. And then all the way up to, well, it looks like it might have made it to the rim. And then the die chip. So this one was probably spitting all kinds of pieces from some of the other coins being stamped like this. Pretty cool. Let's take a closer look. It's fun going through and pulling the ones with die chips. I have some that have 6. I think 6 is the most I have for the die chips. But it's interesting to see that many die chips in a single coin. Ooh, look at that. That's kind of cool. Like some really odd lamination issue. That's really interesting. But keep in mind, the die was on its way out. It almost had a completely, perfectly broken section out of it. So, but that's not the area of the coin that has it. That's actually the opposite end, because Lincoln's head would be right about where the DNS in the United States is. That's really interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. And could it be a coin dragging across it or something? Yeah. Could it be from the pressure from the die? Possibly. Very interesting. I need to go a little bit further since I saw that one. A lot of the times when you see the cracked or spiked skull like that, normally it's a good portion of the coins will show it. So I see a small crack there in that one. You guys see it? Right there. Looks like it even runs up here a little bit. So it could be a progression of it, an early progression. Oh, let me pull the scope back out a little bit more. Not a very good looking coin. Okay, we'll just look at a couple more and then I'll switch over. Oh, that one hasn't. Ooh, nasty rub on the head. All right, let me grab another roll of these. Let's try 57. Oh, but darn, that one's got a cracked skull as well. And it's funny because even through the different years, you get that same pattern in that same spot. So it was obviously a weak spot for the dies. Interesting. Ooh, look at those polish marks. I don't know how many of you guys follow Mr. Monkey Swag. He's got a really neat video on his favorite coins from 2019. And of course, he's got some really neat videos, but that one's a lot of fun. It's neat seeing some nicer coins, a couple rarer coins, and I think quite a few of them were graded. He has some. He's the kind of guy that once he gets a coin, he learns everything he can. He learns all types of histories that are from the era, and fun listening to him. One of my favorite shows is to have him and Michael Kittle on my show and just let them go back and forth. And what's going on with his ear? Yeah, the coins in my tubes are most from 4 to 6 years ago. So I've come a long way since then. So most of the stuff that goes into Airtites in the last 3 years or so are definitely, nicer for sure. It's unfortunate that I put so many in Airtites without, because I'm sure there was nicer coins that I was bypassing, trying to stick with just solid years. But there's a big die crack in that one too. It's really cool. I had someone come into the chat the other day in my stream and say, "Oh, I'm an old friend." It's like, huh, okay. Don't recognize the name. It was a new channel. They had changed their channel name. It's somebody that I used to have big old discussions about the coin. Somebody that was new to coin collecting, and well, I'd been in it a few years, but was new and wanted to learn. So it was full of questions, and it's the one thing I normally don't have a problem doing is giving large answers or talking too much. Comes pretty easy to me. So my poor family is really bad. It's funny because my mom's family, they're all the same. It's funny. I've built computers, and I started before home computers were even available, and or at most stores, Radio Shack, you had to build your own, and it was really cool. But I've been doing it for that long. Yet, talk to my grandmother or several of my great aunts, some of my mom's cousins. Well, they're my cousins too. Yeah, well, they read an article, and no, I'm wrong in my thinking for a particular thing about computers, and oh gosh, it's so funny. And my grandmother was so bad with that I would just have to agree with her, knowing that she was wrong, and just let it be because there's no way that she was going to let it go. She knew because she read a couple paragraph article or saw a 5-minute clip on news or so funny. And that was the worst part too, because I was doing genealogy, and well, Mexicans weren't allowed to marry whites, and well, my great grandmother is definitely Mexican. My grandmother always told us that she was from Spain, and the families were from Spain and Portugal. And no, they were from Mexico. It was just illegal, so of course they lied because the couple were in love, and the family he married into, they were. Oh, there's some more. Oh no, I think that's a scratch. Um, White family that she married into, a very strong, major pioneer type of family. But you know, everybody was convinced that she was, but a wealthy family from Spain, even though she didn't have money. Funny how you can get away with something like that, but back then that stuff was kept pretty private. Although I would think the way they were dressed was kind of obvious, but who knows? Um, so when I figured it out and found the documents to back up everything, I started to tell my grandmother, and oh, she had a fit. And it's like, she's known this her entire life. Who am I to change that? So I just stopped. Of course, now that she's gone, all the family knows and realizes because I've got document after document proving it. But so funny, she came from the, when times were tough through the stock market crash, and times were tough back then, and she had a family, and they're lucky they had a farm because so many people were going hungry and had invested all their monies. And my grandmother actually ran the money, always had. So they definitely weren't into stocks or anything like that. Their money was fairly well invested into their farm. Thank goodness. Where their farm was ended up being a country club, and they paid big money for it. Oh, maybe we're related, David. David said his grandmother was never wrong also. So funny. In that generation, boy, you don't question that with them. I mean, it insults them. And my grandmother, if I'd have pushed it just a little bit more, she probably would have stopped talking to me for years. She would have been talking to my kids and my wife, but would have left me out of all of it. So strange. And unfortunately for my family, my grandmother ended up with Alzheimer's. And I don't know who I looked like, but somebody that she didn't like, and she was actually scared of me. And it was a crusher because I was the one helping more than the rest of the family for most of them, and still visiting her. And I had to stop. My wife and kids kept going, but oh man, how sad. Try to lose your grandma like that. She's still around, but she's scared of you, and you can't go around because you scare her. Ugh. That was a very tough thing to come to terms with. Boy, I'm just gabby tonight, aren't I? Some of the worst topics. I am so sorry. Let me go another direction. Here, let's see. Where am I going to go now? Let me do this. Oh, those are all Ikes. Alrighty, don't want to do Ikes. Let's look at a couple of these. I don't want to pull them out of that. wrappers if I can help it. There we go. It's got a lot of marks on it. Ooh, that one's already starting to tone badly. That's unfortunate. Wow, this one too. I had these marked as better coins. But as you can see, they are red-brown. How unfortunate. So when they went in these 2x2s, they were very nice coins. How unfortunate. I think they've been in these for maybe 2 years. I wonder if they're all like that. All right, now this is going to be a good example because I had these in an airtight tube. They're in 2x2s, but I had them pressed in there, a larger tube with a roll of coins. And these came out of that roll, so I'm interested into seeing what the roll looks like. Hopefully it's not all turning. I had it filled with the foam from the Airtites, so that shouldn't have been much air in these. Oh no, it's starting to tone too. Wow, how sad. Let me go a little deeper because that was right off the top. Go about a third of the way down. Wow, that whole roll is turning. What a shame. Yeah, I had this marked as one of my better rolls for this year. This is a 61D. A couple years ago when I had put them in here, the 67s were selling for $3,200. And I felt I had a couple, but boy, I'm not seeing it here. And what is going on with that Liberty? So sad. Dig to the bottom of this roll and see what's on the bottom. Or nearly the bottom. Nope. Wow. How sad. So this is what I deal with these rolls. And even a roll that I thought, you know, could have had some several $1,000 coins in it at each. And they're toned. I probably throw between 30 and 40 rolls into my browning bins of coins that are completely brown. Well, that was sad. Yeah, a couple more in 2x2s, but I don't even want to look at them. I'm sure they're brown as well. Yep. Okay, last one. So even with all the care I take and the money I spend, I mean, I've spent a lot of money on preserving my coins. And man, sometimes there's nothing you can do. If that coin has been in the air enough or been contaminated by one thing or another, you lose it. That's sad. When I had gone through that roll before, well, let's see if I marked the outside of it. Yeah, I had 6 stars on it, which I don't do 6 stars, to let myself know that, there are 67 coins. Nope, I didn't write how many. But I knew I had a few of them there that were more than likely 67s. So sad. All right. From gross story to sad. Boy, how many directions am I going to go? Let's see. Oh, how about if I show one of my nickel rolls? That should be a little nicer. Alrighty, let me find a roll here. Okay, they're not full steppers. Supposedly they're 1 and 2 steps. The date is 64 Philadelphia's. Let's see what we got here. That's the nice thing about the nickels. If they do tone, that's okay. Not very good condition though. Let's see what the steps look like. Oh, I don't see 1 and 2 steps in that one. Now he was pretty accurate on them. Let me take a quick look. Now there is actually 1 or 2 steps. Let me try again with a different coin. Yeah, now you can see a couple steps on that one. Now I wish the coin was all like it is in this corner right here. Because that looks like it still has some pretty good luster. But nope. Coin's got some issues. See what the burst looks like. Nice toning. No, not really. A little bit of red there. Let's go a little further into the roll. Most of these are original wrap bank rolls, so normally they're pretty solid all the way through as being extremely similar. And you can see a couple steps there. There's some odd color on that one. Blues and greens. So it looks like my finger's touching the center of the coin, but it's not. It's actually flat on the surface that the coin is sitting on. Here's one that looks like it has more luster, but I think they're all going to be very similar. Some nice greens. That one's actually not that bad in hand, but microscope just brings out so much. Maybe I should be looking in the other camera. Just a second, guys. Let me hook that back up. I'll take that last coin we were looking at. So it looks a lot better under this camera. It's actually a pretty nice coin. A couple of issues on the upper collar, back of cheek. Let me get the light a little better. Sorry, I'm too shaky to hold it like that. A little bit of dullness. I hate to say it, but I got a feeling if this coin was properly cleaned, that haze would go away and leave a pretty brilliant coin. You can see it there under the E and E pluribus. Let's look at another one. There's some contact issues on that one. There we go. Still look at those fields when I get it to flash. Interesting. I'm going to try it here. Yeah, all the graded coins that I've had for the nickels with full steps came out of these rolls. Just a second to steal the light. Okay, 62 Phillies. What was the last one? 64, that's right. on, come here. Nice luster, but doesn't look like many steps, if any. Well, there's quite a few little marks on that one. Try that one. Nope, a lot of marks on that one. Real nice luster, but contact mark. Well, you guys certainly are a talkative bunch. No comments for the last 22 minutes. And there's 11 of you in here. Are you all lurking? 11 lurkers. Alrighty. I think I'm going to call it for tonight. Thanks for joining me. 11 of you, unknown people. And sorry for the stories going so many directions. History isn't pretty. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.